This is the key to a 1990 Honda Prelude with a freshly rebuilt V21. This is the intro to my video. My name's Nick. We're gonna start getting some oil flowing through this thing, hopefully. See if I actually rebuilt the engine right. The engine's been pulled since October, and it is currently January. We are in neutral. What if it doesn't crank? Oh, clutch. Forgot I'm in a manual. All right, now what if it still doesn't do it? Well, that's why it didn't start. The starter wasn't plugged in. Guess that makes sense. All right, so the starter's plugged back in. We're gonna plug back in, plugged in. We're gonna see what she does this time. 3, 2, 1. All right, ignore the sketchiness. That doesn't have a nut on that terminal. Tighten that one. The battery is just a little loose, so now I thought it had a good bite, but I guess I didn't. All right. What you saw in that last clip was me attempting to prime the engine. For those of you that don't know, when you rebuild an engine or you fully disassemble it, take off the oil pump, something like that, you have to do what's called priming it. Basically send oil through the engine before you start it, because if you don't prime the pump with oil, you're gonna have air in the system and you're gonna be basically running your car with no oil. You can see where that might be bad. So when you prime a car, you're supposed to turn it over with no ECU fuse, no spark plugs, and basically no fuel pressure, and you're supposed to turn it over until that oil light goes off. What I didn't realize is that with Hondas, you don't actually generate enough pressure when you're turning the engine over to turn off that oil light. And how I realized this was I went over to my Accord that actually runs and has oil pressure, and I noticed that while it was rotating and turning over, the light didn't go off. So that's what caused me, that night I was debating whether I should start it or not. I decided to start it later that night, as you'll see in a second, but I didn't think it had oil pressure, so I was a little concerned, but I decided to do a little testing, a little research, and we figured out the answer. So I think we're doing this right. We're working in here because the fuel pump just isn't priming. So the oil pump isn't priming, so you have to come into the suspension here. It's on the back of the block, and as you can see, we're working with this ratchet right here. It's up in here, and I'm basically trying to loosen that because from what the internet's telling me, I think this will allow me to access the innards of the oil pump and pre-fill it with oil, which should allow it to not be sucking air and actually get a vacuum and like be able to grab oil. So we got that loosened, filled up with the same thing we used for the transmission fluid, the same pump. So let's prime with some 520, I think, if that's even what we did, or if we just sent it randomly into a hole in the block. I don't know. Let's hope this oil light goes out, because I can't start it, obviously, if it doesn't. I love this thing. All right. Oh my God! No! All right, we're gonna go for another restart. I think we're leaking tranny fluid. Holy crap. Ah, there's a surging idle. Oh, she's sticky. Okay, wow, so that was a little bit intense, fast-paced, and a little unnerving. So right now I'm sitting on the hood. Obviously it's daytime, everything's different. It has been probably a good week since I got the car actually running. And so it's been about a week since I got the car running. You guys saw that clip, it kind of burped to life. Since then, I've put a little over 75 miles on the car, which is pretty cool. So it runs, it drives, and it runs really well. It actually runs better than it ever has. So that's pretty awesome. The fact that I was able to rebuild this car for $300 and do it right at 17 years old. I think that's really cool. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the car if you're new to the channel, the past, present, and future of where we're going with it. So we are inside my 1990 Honda Prelude. It has the B21A1 with a 5-speed manual. Now, I got this car in January 13th of 2019. I noticed it kept making noises and it never ran quite right. Now, I debated pulling the engine in March and then June, and things just kept happening. I ended up pulling the engine out on October 14th of 2019, and the 17th of January, I believe, the engine went back in 2020, and then the car started a few days later. Now, I rebuilt the engine because it was making a knocking sound. It also didn't run right, and I was never able to time it. So, what I ended up doing was buying a parts card. This is a 1991 Honda Prelude with, again, the B21A1. It was a 5-speed manual as well. Now, this car I got for free thanks to Elevated Media. I'll leave his link in the description below. And I've already used a ton of parts from this car. I'm going to take most of the body panels off because the doors and one of the fenders are really good. Now, I also took out the ECU because it's the same exact motor as my car, and I questioned whether my ECU was right or not. I took the cam sensor, I took the distributor, I took a bunch of random nuts and bolts, I took a ton of parts, and I also used it as a good reference for some things I didn't remember. So this car still has a ton of potential. I'm debating if I want to build it, take more parts off, swap parts with the gold car. I'm not sure yet. So this car is questionable. However, what I do know the future of is this car. This is my Laguna Gold Prelude, the one we just rebuilt, and we're going to do a startup in a minute or two. What I have planned for this car is I want to do brakes. I want to put my underglow in that I bought months and months and months ago. I just never had the chance to put it in because the car never ran well enough for it. So I want to do my underglow. I want to put bigger brakes on it. I'm debating about running newer Prelude brakes and drilling it out or what the deal is, but I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do headlights, brakes, underglow. I still have to clean it because I haven't cleaned it since August. So it's been a while since I've really cleaned this car, so I have to do that still. I'm going to wait till I hit a couple 100 miles, and then I'll do some decently hard driving. Not decently hard, but right now it's in the break-in period, so I can't really rev it too high. 4,000 is my max, and I'm just trying to treat the car really well. Now, it did make a slight knocking noise when I first started it, but that noise has been slowly going away as I wear in the new bearings. It also made a ticking noise, so I had to adjust the valve lash. I might have to go back in for some of the intake side, but it is what it is. So this is the engine bay of my 1990 Prelude. As you can see, we have that good old 2.1 liter 4-cylinder sitting behind me. Now, what I did to the engine was I did rings because I'm already in there. The pistons are already out. I'd be stupid not to. And that was a whole hassle because I ordered 0.5 over rings and they wouldn't compress. So that was fun. We got new rings in here. I put in rod bearings, main bearings, a thrust washer, a rear main seal. I did a clutch disc. I did a throwout bearing. Oil pan gasket. I painted the oil pan because it was starting to get rusty and I don't want that to rot. Oil pans for this car are about $400, so if I can save this one, you bet I'm going to. I cleaned out the pickup tube. I was going to put a new one on, but you can't find them, so I cleaned that one out as well. And then, of course, I put in one new axle, the one that was still old because I already had one new axle on the driver's side, passenger side. So I put in a new driver's side axle as well. That came with my parts car. I also put in this cover right here because I had it with the parts car and it looks way cleaner than the rusty manifold underneath it. I cleaned up the alternator, which I have a video on. I cleaned up the power steering pump and I did a full AC delete. As you can see, those lines lead nowhere. I just put that on there because I couldn't find just a pulley to get rid of the AC compressor. So I left the compressor on there. It can never kick in, so I'm not really losing any power. And I got rid of the condenser. I got rid of cruise control. I don't have a hood rod, so 2x4 it is. Got rid of cruise control, full AC delete. The battery is supposed to be in the trunk right now. So as you guys can see, we have the tray mounted and the wire run for the positive. I just have to run that blue wire. It's going from there into the trunk. I have to run it through the firewall, and then that will all be covered. You won't ever see that wire. So I have to run that, and then I have to ground out the wire on the trunk, and then I have to ground out the ground wire here to the frame of the car, which is super easy. I just got to figure out how I want to run that positive wire through the firewall. And then the battery will be gone as well. Once the battery's gone, we're going to run this intake tube. I'm going to get some new tubing. Going to run it. It's going to come and it's going to sit right here. So it's an actual cold air intake and not a hot air intake. So that's my plans. As you can see, I cleaned up the engine bay a decent bit while I was in here with the engine out. It's not perfect and I still want to do one more little clean. Got some new hoses right here, a bunch of new clamps. I can't believe I was able to get this thing running as good as I did, but we made it. Now, like I said, some of the plans for this car are brakes, put my underglow on, maybe better suspension because the parts car has some really cool looking control arms and coilovers on the front. So I want to see if I can swap those around and play with it. I want to do a body kit on this car so it's a little bit lower, even though yesterday I almost ripped the front bumper off, but that's besides the point. So I have some big plans for this car. I also want to paint it at some point once I get all my new panels on. That's a little bit further down the road. I will be making some more videos on this car driving. I might make a few POV driving ones with my GoPro so you guys can just, I don't know, there's some cool roads around here, so I figured it'd be cool to have some POV driving videos go up. So I think that's gonna do it. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because I have content coming out on this Prelude, that Prelude, my Accord, and hopefully a Trans Am soon. I love making these videos and I'm really starting to learn a lot working on cars, and I'm even learning myself by making these videos. Like, I'll watch the video back and realize that I said something wrong, or I'm learning a lot, and I hope you guys are too. I keep getting comments on my videos that you guys are installing parts because I helped you, and I really do like that. So if you guys have any questions, comments, whatever, make sure you throw them down below because I'd love to answer them. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Now let's get to some engine clips. As you guys can tell, this car sounds super, super healthy. Idles at a good like 12 cold, 7 to 8, maybe 7 to 9 hot. The engine is a little ticky, as most Hondas are, but it's super, super dialed in. It sounds amazing. No crazy noises, guys. I fell back in love with this car. It's got perfect fitment. I mean, I could barely fit two fingers. I can't. I love the fitment of this car. I love the shape. I love the style. This is my favorite body style car to date. Now, I will be working on some more videos very, very soon. I believe this car has some pretty sweet brakes on it. I see a red caliper. I'm going to check that out. I might throw it up on the jack right now because I'm thinking about doing a brake swap just to get some new calipers on this thing. I have to do a trunk liner in this car. I got to do a bunch of stuff. I have to fix the speed sensor and I have to fix the TPS. It still throws a TPS code even though it works fine. As you can see, I got the interior underglow. I have to mount it because obviously it keeps falling. But you guys get the idea. I love this car. Like I said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.